Whispers of time, the power of silence in everyday life. Have you ever wondered why silent moments often bring us the most emotions and thoughts? The whispers of time, the pauses between noisy words, those are the moments when we truly realize the value of stillness. Sometimes, in a world that is too noisy, silence becomes a force stronger than any sound. Silence can be a weapon, a way to understand oneself, to listen to others, and to find balance amidst the chaos of life. Imagine standing in a bustling street, the sound of cars, people talking, everything blending together into an unending noise. Amidst that scene, a sudden moment of silence appears, like a clear sky after a storm. It is precisely in these moments that we can truly listen to our hearts and to the things we often overlook. In a world that constantly demands our attention, silence is a precious moment for us to reflect, to find what is truly meaningful. Let's explore this journey together through these meaningful stories about silence in history and in life. In modern life, we are constantly surrounded by noise, the ringing of phones, the honking of cars, endless conversations. Yet silence is an important element, a rare moment for us to connect with ourselves, to reflect, and to regain balance. Let's begin with an interesting historical story about someone who used silence as their most powerful weapon. The story of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, the spiritual leader of India, was famous not only for the struggle for independence, but also for the days he chose complete silence. Every Monday, Gandhi devoted an entire day to silence, to not speaking. He believed this helped him focus and find clarity in his decisions. Thanks to silence, Gandhi developed the ability to listen and understand, laying the foundation for peaceful negotiations later on. When faced with tense situations, silence helped him not only maintain calm, but also spread that calmness to those around him. Gandhi's silence was not just a way to maintain composure, but also a way to find inner strength. During long marches, public gatherings, or facing oppression from authorities, silence helped Gandhi focus on the most important thing, the goal of gaining independence for India without violence. He once said, "Silence is a part of strength," and indeed, it helped him overcome seemingly impossible challenges. People around him, from supporters to opponents, felt his dignity and confidence whenever he chose silence. It was a silence full of power, not to avoid, but to show determination. Remember the Salt March of 1930, when Gandhi led thousands of supporters on a 2-mile walk to protest the British salt tax. Throughout the march, Gandhi didn't need to say much, but his silent determination inspired the Indian people. Those silent but resolute steps, unwavering in the face of hardship or oppression, became a symbol of patriotism and indomitable spirit. That silence was not weakness, but a manifestation of spiritual strength rising above all adversity. The story of Abraham Lincoln. Not only Gandhi, but even Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, used silence as a means to achieve his goals. Lincoln was famous for his ability to persuade others, but few know that his success came from knowing when to listen and choosing the right moments of silence. During an important meeting, when cabinet members were arguing intensely, Lincoln chose not to say anything. He simply listened quietly to all opinions and ultimately made the right decision. That moment of silence helped him understand the problem better and come up with unbiased solutions. Lincoln was not always the one who spoke the most in meetings, but he was the one who understood the most. One valuable lesson from Lincoln was that he always listened to understand, not to respond. In the politically tense context of America at that time, when the nation was divided by civil war, Lincoln chose to use silence to reflect, to find non-confrontational approaches. He understood that sometimes words could fan the flames of conflict, while silence helped calm negative emotions, so that people could sit down and find solutions together. Thanks to his calmness and deep listening, Lincoln led America through its most challenging years. One notable example is during a meeting with military generals when the war was raging. The generals presented many conflicting opinions about military strategy, and tension filled the room. Lincoln sat in silence, not expressing any attitude, not debating. After everyone had presented their views, Lincoln gently spoke, summarizing the important points and making the final decision. Thanks to that silent listening, he could synthesize all opinions, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and make the most accurate decision for the country. The story of Nelson Mandela, another example of the power of silence, is Nelson Mandela. Throughout 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela had plenty of time to reflect in silence. He had no right to speak, but those years of captivity helped him deeply understand people and the values needed to build a unified nation. When he was freed, Mandela did not seek revenge or call for retribution. Instead, he chose reconciliation. It was the silence during those dark years that prepared his spirit and strength to become a symbol of forgiveness and compassion. Mandela once said, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear," and silence helped Mandela overcome his fears, helped him build an unyielding spirit. When we choose silence, we not only listen to the outside world, but also to ourselves. Mandela used silence as a weapon to better understand himself, his enemies, and the path he needed to take. During his years in Robben Island prison, Mandela had moments of confronting himself in absolute silence. Every day, he had to do heavy labor, but it was precisely in those silent moments that he trained himself to have a steel will and boundless compassion. Mandela understood that to change the country, he first had to change himself, and silence was the key that helped him do that. When he was freed, Mandela chose not to seek revenge, but to extend a hand of reconciliation to those who had imprisoned him. That was not an easy thing to do, but thanks to the contemplation and silence, Mandela found the strength of forgiveness and unity. The story of the Zen master and his student, another story, comes from the East. A Zen master had a student who always felt restless and anxious. The student came to his teacher asking for a way to find peace. Instead of answering, the Zen master took the student to a lake. They sat silently by the lake for an hour without saying a word. After some time, the lake became calm, reflecting the sky and the surroundings clearly. The Zen master then gently said, "When your mind is still, everything becomes clear like this water." Silence helped the student find the answer himself. The story of the Zen master and the student is a clear testament to the power of silence in finding inner peace. In daily life, we often feel anxious and confused when faced with various issues. But when we sit in silence, our minds gradually become still, and the answers we seek may appear more clearly. Silence does not mean giving up, but rather giving the mind time to recover and see everything more clearly. Another time, when the student came to the teacher again, confused because he could not find his purpose in life, the Zen master did not say anything but handed him a cup of tea. He poured tea until it overflowed, causing the student to cry out. The Zen master smiled and said, "Your mind is like this cup of tea. If it is full of worries and thoughts, how can you take in anything new?" Silence not only clarifies the mind, but also helps us let go of unnecessary burdens. Applying silence in everyday life, silence is not only present in history, but also a part of everyday life. We often think that to succeed, we need to speak a lot to express our opinions. But sometimes silence is the greatest strength. Think of family arguments or meetings at work. When someone remains silent and listens without rushing to give an opinion, they often make the sharpest and most accurate observations. In relationships, silence can help reduce tension and soothe conflicts. For example, in a family argument, if both sides continuously try to defend their views, the conflict can escalate. But when one person chooses silence, not to avoid but to listen and think, the tension gradually fades. Sometimes, silence is a way to show respect for the other person, to give them the opportunity to express the thoughts and feelings they are holding inside. At work, a good leader is not the one who speaks the most, but the one who knows when to listen. Silence helps them better understand their employees, the issues the team is facing, and thus make more accurate decisions. In business, successful people are often those who know when to be silent, when to listen to understand the needs and desires of their partners. Silence and creativity. Silence is also an inspiration for creativity. Artists, writers, scientists, they all need silent moments to reflect, to explore new ideas. Albert Einstein once said that it was precisely in quiet moments, undisturbed, that he came up with great theories. When the mind is relaxed, not bound by noise and external pressure, we can find more creative and effective solutions to our problems. The story of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, was also someone who valued silence greatly. He often walked alone to reflect and seek ideas. Those walks not only helped him relieve stress, but were also moments for him to connect with himself and find creative solutions for his work. Jobs understood that creativity does not come from noisy meetings, but from quiet moments when we truly listen to our inner voices. Once, when Jobs was facing pressure to develop a new product for Apple, he chose to distance himself from all the noise and take a walk on the quiet streets of Palo Alto. In that silence, the idea for the iPhone gradually took shape, a product that changed the world of technology. Jobs proved that sometimes, to create great things, we need silence to reflect, to listen to the ideas brewing inside us. From Gandhi, Lincoln, Mandela to the Zen master and Steve Jobs, we can see that silence is not just a pause between words, but also a way to connect with ourselves, to find wisdom and balance in life. Silence is not avoidance, but deep listening, understanding more about ourselves and the world around us. We often fear silence, fearing that in silence, we will be left behind, seen as weak. But in reality, silence can be a manifestation of strength, of confidence. Those who know when to be silent are those who can control themselves, who know what is important and necessary. Silence is a powerful tool, helping us connect with our inner world, helping us understand more clearly what we truly want. So, what do you think about the power of silence? Have you ever experienced moments when silence brought you answers or peace? Please share your story in the comments. I am eager to hear about your experiences.